Okay. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Do you remember when you attended your first speech contest? Yeah, it was probably an in-person speech contest, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really great. That was also my first experience. Do you remember a memory, something that just stuck with you from that first experience or some of the more recent experiences? If you do, I'd like to ask if you could type it in the chat, just share what was one of your favorite memories of the speech contest? Brittany did attend an in-person. That's good. Well, there's only 6 of us. You could also unmute and shout it out. I'm okay with that. Oh, Andy, you've never been to an in-person speech contest.
Never.
Okay, you're gonna be
Never seen one. Never. I've had lots of questions.
Well, I'm not going to say that it was actually a very pleasant experience, but at my first speech contest that I attended, I had been in Toastmasters a whopping 6 weeks. And I walked in and somebody walked up to me and asked, "Hey, can you be a judge?" So it was actually a little bit of a negative experience, but overall it was great.
Great. So we want to be able to replicate this because you know what? Toastmasters International, they want us to have fun again. They want us to resume that fun that we had and give us the flexibility to offer these speech contests in person with the hybrid format or online. So I'm going to now start our presentation now that we kind of remembered a little bit on how the speech contest used to be. So back in July, Toastmasters International gave us some guidelines on how we could hold speech contests. The 4 guidelines were documented in a letter that came from our CEO, Dan Rex, and also our acting president at the time, Richard Peck. In order for us as a district to offer the speech contest, we have to ensure that we have a consistent way of offering the speech contest at the area, division, and the district level. So at this point, these rules don't really apply to the club level contest. The clubs still execute the speech contest and send a speech contestant based off of the previous legacy rules. So some definitions of an online and the hybrid speech contest as defined on Toastmasters International. Online speech contests are those in which all participants, whether they are contestants, the judges, and or audience members, they are online. They are online. And then the hybrid speech contests are those in which some participants are on site in a physical location that's provided by the speech contestants, and there are others online that feature themselves online using equipment that they obtain themselves. So that is the hybrid speech contest. For hybrid speech contests, contestants must be provided the option to select either format that works best for them. And so that is essentially the definition of the hybrid speech contest, by just offering the opportunity for a contestant to speak either in person or online. Some guidelines as documented from our letter from Toastmasters International. The district first must select and vote for the format for the speech contest. So back on November 10th, our district executive council, the DEC, we held a meeting and we were able to vote on the way we want to hold the area and the division and district level speech contests. We selected overwhelming vote with the hybrid speech contest winning. And so by selecting this, we have a lot of flexibility to offer in-person and online participants. The second guideline is that once a once a district selects the hybrid speech contest for that level, all contests on that level must remain consistent and required to be in that format. So for example, if a area contest is going to occur and they are a hybrid speech contest configuration, then all the other areas, they also have to abide and be hybrid speech contests. If for any reason an area or a certain city or community cannot support having the in-person component of the hybrid speech contest, then we still have the flexibility to execute online speech contests, and every other area will have to also conform and become online as well. So the guideline number 2 just outlines that if there are local restrictions or safety concerns, we can still revert and go backwards by holding an online speech contest vice hybrid. So that gives the district and area and division some flexibility.
I'm not clear in that. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Okay, Anna, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So are you saying that if one area decides, or for some reason cannot do hybrid, they decide that they have to do it online, then all the other areas in the district have to do it online? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh, I see. So that's the areas go up to division, the divisions go up to district. So if an area decides, then the division is impacted.
No, the division contest is a separate level. So once the area speech contests are complete, they all have to be executed in the same fashion. The division speech contest will execute in their own fashion as well. So if there is an outbreak during the area speech contest, we can still hold hybrid speech contests at the division level.
Oh, okay. So then if an area in a division can't do a hybrid, then everybody else has to go the online. Okay.
Yes.
Tan, is that only for the division? I mean, for that division, let's say that there's an area contest being held in Division B that cannot do hybrid. So every other area in Division B has to do an online only, but the other divisions are not affected or not?
It will be affected because we are all in the same district.
Okay.
Oh, so every division is affected. Okay. Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So because of the great landscape of District 33, one community, if there are safety restrictions that impact that certain city or town, it will be a ripple effect for the rest of the district for that level.
Hey, Tan, just a quick another question. Let's say that, I mean, the area contests are probably going to cover 2 or 3 weekends. Let's say that the first weekend, a couple of the areas hold in hybrid, and then all of a sudden an outbreak or something happens, and then now it all has to be online. How is that going to be addressed? Is it just overlooked?
I'm going to do a little bit of research on that question, Tim. I want to say the previous speech contests that were executed will hold as is, and then the next round will just going forward. The future speech contest will be online. I think that was how we executed and finished 2019 when the pandemic originally started. We had a couple of rounds of speech contests that were in person. And then the pandemic hit, and then we picked it up by having online speech contests, and
Yeah.
there was
Go ahead.
there was no need to redo a previously executed speech contest. But I'll get confirmation on that.
So I have a question for you. I mean, I know that there's one club that they only meet online. They will probably hold their contest online. So that means that they're going to sway everybody else to be online. I mean, we have some clubs that only meet online. So they'll dictate what everybody else does.
Anna, again, the clubs can execute whatever they want. Clubs operate independently of each other for the speech
Right.
contest, so
But
they
the
do
area-
not have to follow the Toastmasters International 4 guidelines.
Thank you. That clears it up for me. Thank you.
I had one question. When do we know the date of whether it's going to be hybrid or back to online fully? Because I think that we're organizing the venues now. So when would we know what the final decision is, whether we continue with the hybrid or go straight back fully online?
We're going to continue with the hybrid speech contest format right now. And until we receive some type of safety guidance or local restriction that prohibits us, that will be announced as soon as possible for us to go back and execute speech contest at the online format.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, these are the two guidelines. And then the next two guidelines are, again, the hybrid speech contest. They must allow for a contestant to select either on-site or online. And a contestant cannot be penalized for selecting either format. They will compete and they will be judged based off of the existing judging ballot. And we will be able to train our judges so that they fairly score their speech contestants. So also the briefings and rehearsals, they will be offered in a hybrid format. You can offer them in person and online, and we've done them in the past. So executing rehearsals and briefings in the hybrid format is not something new. We just need to make sure we rehearse them and provide that to our contestants as far as offering the rehearsals online too and in person. And then the fourth guideline, and with the in-person contest, if all contestants do select to be on site, the district can still they can still hold that hybrid speech contest format title, and even if every speech contestant wants to be online, they still need to keep the online format open for any functionaries or judges, or even if a Toastmaster or a contest chair or vote counter, any of those functionaries, they would have to have the online format available for them. And it works the other way too. If all contestants select to be online, then the district can still keep it as a hybrid format by offering the functionaries a chance to be on site. Again, they don't have to select it if the whole team and all the speech contestants do choose to be online, as long as the district or the area or the division, as long as they provide that offering of a stage and the in-person component, and everybody selects no, then it still counts as a hybrid speech contest, because again, Toastmasters just wants us to be able to provide that option. Okay, so the setup for a online speech contest has been done the past few years, and it's quite simple. You just need to have a virtual meeting room. We use Zoom for that as our main tool, and we will have breakout rooms so that we can speak to our judges and our contestants and have separate breakout rooms in using the Zoom tool. Also, we want to be able to have a good display of the video and good hearing devices for the audio. So as participants are connecting to our online speech contest, they need to be able to provide their own computers, smartphones, or tablets. So much like what you're doing now, a user for that speech contest needs to have their own computer or smartphone or device to connect to the meeting. And everybody that participates will need to have a stable internet connection, and also a way to contact and communicate with the contest officials via phone or text. And also, while we are voting using the electronic method, we want to be able to either text or email a copy of the voting ballots. So those are some basic tools that we need to have in place for online speech contests. To advance and to implement the in-person component of a hybrid speech contest, you take all the characteristics and all the setup from online and you add in a meeting space. The meeting space should have a stage, a main stage, and that stage would only need to have one device to be your audio and your video input. So as a speech contestant takes the stage, you want to be able to have a microphone nearby so that they can speak into it, or something that acts like a microphone. So it could be another computer or a laptop. and also a camera. The camera will provide for the video portion of the speech contestant. And it's best to have that camera kind of backed up a little bit so that you can get the full view of the stage. When also executing this in-person component of the speech contest, you want to have all the contest material printed and ready to go to distribute to any other attendees online. Examples of contest material are agendas, voting ballots, maybe some envelopes, and some various in-person contest material that needs to be prepared, certificates. And then if you have a mix of online and in-person speech contestants, you want to be able to also have a projector or a large screen display so that you can display the online speaker, which is the online contestant, and then also have a speaker so that you can output their audio, and that would be placed in front on the stage area. Again, you only have to supply those two if there are online speech contestants. If there are no online speech contestants, then you don't need to have that extra projector and then the speaker system. A little graphical tutorial of how the hybrid meeting or the hybrid speech contest could look like is you have an optional physical attendance of functionaries, and they can consist of your judging team and or your contest chair, your Toastmaster, timers or vote counters. So you have your attendants, and they're facing the red box looking forward. Right here is your speaking area or your stage. So near the stage, you want to have one microphone and one video device. The video device could be a camera, it could be a smartphone, it could be anything, just to make sure they capture that stage area. And then, as I had mentioned earlier, we want to be able to display the online speech competitors. So in this box that says online attendance, that would essentially be your online speech contestants. So you could have a person speaking and they would be displayed via the large screen display, and they would be competing remotely in their home or office. Then that display can be viewed by the physical attendees. And then there's also the speaker system. You want to be able to set up a speaker so that the physical attendees can listen to the online speech competitor. Okay, this photo is courtesy of Toastmasters International, and I will share some of the resources later. Now, we've talked a lot about chairing and setting up of the speech contest. I'd like to now talk about the contestants aspect. It's been a while since many of us have been speech competitors. I can tell you that. So when you return to the in-person performance, just realize all the benefits and all the great feelings that you had as a previous speech contestant. There's a lot of butterflies that you have performing in front of a live audience or even a remote audience. But the in-person contestant should know how to use the stage and understand the boundaries of that stage. Also, if you're going to be competing in person, rehearse the props if you have any. So practice using props and have a smooth delivery. And finally, as a speech contestant, when you're speaking in a large room, the contestant should speak loud enough for the entire audience to hear. So we want to be able to have our speech competitors speak loud enough. If a contestant chooses to speak and compete online, they would need to supply their own audio or visual component, which is a computer or a smartphone. They also need to supply internet connection so that they can connect to our virtual speech contest. They need to set up good lighting, because once they're going to be displayed on screen, it's important that the speech competitor or the contestant practice and rehearse good lighting so that the recipients can see them. The speech contestant online also would need to be able to understand the camera field of view. So I'm sitting here in my office, but I do know that I have this much real estate to work with. So it is essentially having the speech contestant know their boundaries using the virtual boundaries of Zoom, and then also to rehearse. So you want to have the speech contestant, whether they're in person or online, rehearse a lot, understand that the local officials could definitely put a stop to any type of in-person speech contest. So speech contestants are urged to be able to practice either in person or online, and just be ready if we have to go backwards and perform online, then they are able to do that. Some frequently asked questions that may come to you, or you probably heard. So where would contestants and judges and functionaries, where do they have to reside for the hybrid speech contest? They are given the choice to be in person or online. What if a contest official at the area or the division, what if they cannot find a facility? And what if they can't find the equipment to run a speech contest in the hybrid format? Some options are to prepare early, to start identifying the contest venues. We've been able to do this in the past pretty successfully by finding venues in your local towns or areas. This past weekend, someone recommended maybe looking into the library system. They may have a conference room or a space that you could use. Also, the facilities, once you are able to get your facility to rehearse and set up by just holding meetings or mock speech contests. So you want to rehearse that internet connection with the audio and the video, and then even the maybe submit the voting ballot electronically. So you want to rehearse those club meetings in the hybrid format. And then finally, as contest officials, you want to be this together with the other directors. So work with your other directors in the areas and the divisions. Maybe you can leverage off each other's resources by sharing the same staff or the same venue, and really hold like a joint type of contest. Some resources that I wanted to share are these resources from Toastmasters International, and they talk about how to hold the hybrid meetings and how to set it up. And one of them is actually a pretty good YouTube video on how to connect the devices, how to hold online meetings effectively, how to chair and set up speech contests, and also additional frequently asked questions that Toastmasters generated. So those are resources that I wanted to share here. So in conclusion, it's time for us to start planning contests, whether we're going to be a contest official or we're going to be a speech contestant. It's a great time to build your team and ask for help, because you're not in this alone. We're going to be doing this together, executing together, and celebrating together. Best practice is to rehearse and have fun and celebrate once all this is done, because once you are done with the speech contest, there's no better feeling than letting people know what you're capable of doing, especially with the hybrid meeting format. A lot of skills are going to be learned. There's going to be a lot of challenges, but we're going to work them all out with all the rehearsals and working together. All right. Does anybody have any questions? That was my last slide on the overview of the hybrid speech contest. And they were, again, geared towards the contest officials, but at the same time for the contestants.
Could we get a copy of that, what you were showing?
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'll put it in the chat box right now.
And could you remind me the dates that the contests have to be done with?
Yes. The district level speech contest, it will be held on April 28th and 29th. That's the district speech contest. So that's a Friday, Saturday. That's the district conference weekend. And then so that's in the month of April. The division speech contests are being planned now, and they will be executed in the month of March. So we backtrack a month, and then the area speech contest will be executed in the month of February. Again, the specific dates will be identified by your specific area directors.
According to the DEC 33, it looks like Area C1, which is the district that I'm representing, the area contest is on March 5th. Is that, so it could be, does that mean that we have to have the club contest completed by sometime in February, mid-February?
That's correct, Leo. The months I just gave are recommended practices, just to backtrack, but if you're holding the area contest in the early part of March, I think that will not have too much of an impact on the division level speech contests.
One other question, I don't mean to monopolize you. So I did kind of scanning through some of the documentation. It looks like we need several people to assist with the contest. We have a contest chair. That's probably one person. How many judges do we have? Do we need? How many timers? How many ballot counters are recommended?
Yeah. The number of functionaries will depend upon the level of speech contest, and I'll have to refer back to the contest book, but I think for areas, you need to have, I think, between 5 and 7, or maybe more judges. No, I'm gonna maybe let Grace speak. Grace is our District 33 chief judge. You need to have 5 speech judges. That's a minimum. In the past, I've always been able to ask for more, just in case somebody drops out.
And with
10
that-
is nice. 10 is nice. 5 will do it, but they need to be fairly distributed among the clubs for area.
And do we have one timer and one backup timer? And how many
Two
ballot
timers, two timers,
two timers? And what about ballot counters?
two ballot counters.
Okay.
And when it comes to timers, if you're hybrid, you have to take into account the fact that you may have contestants on both platforms. So you may need to work that out slightly differently.
Okay, so the ballot counters, let me just, for the judges, so you obviously wouldn't want, if I have C1, I have 4 clubs, then obviously you're not gonna have, the clubs are gonna judge them themselves. You would have clubs that are outside of that club be their judges, right? So you kind of have to have representation for each of the clubs. Is that the way, does that make sense?
At the area contest, you want representation from each of the clubs as a judge.
Oh.
And you can't have you can have mutual club affiliation at area. At division, no longer can you have mutual club affiliation. You have to pick judges from other clubs that have no common membership with any of the contestants. And the judges, it's really, I every time I listen to Tan and his presentation, my mind just goes in a spin. So if everyone else's mind is in, don't feel alone. And I like his confidence that we'll work everything out. He says that so confidently, it makes me think we will.
He's definitely a glass half full kind of a guy. By the way, speaking of disqualifications for people being judges, I think it might have been 2 years ago now. I was the chief judge. Maybe it was last year. I was the chief judge for the district contest, and one of my a member from my club was a contestant in that. And so as soon as that happened, I could no longer be the chief judge for that for the contest she was in. And so Grace stepped in graciously, because that's her name almost, and shared the chief judge duties with me. And she was the chief judge for the contest that I was disqualified for because I was a member of her club, and I was the chief judge for that other contest. But that kind of stuff can happen.
Yeah.
And it did.
Last year, we solved that problem ahead of time by having a chief judge team we had, I think, 4 people selected who could be chief judge. And and everybody did the prep work. The year that Tim was referring to, he did all of the work and I took half of the glory. And I like that kind of odds. It's good for me.
And
But
I was absolutely fine with that.
but we're going to have a team, and that way more people learn all the ropes for chief judging, and we have a greater pool to choose from going forward. So I think we really had a good time too. It didn't feel sometimes when you're chief judge all by yourself, district chief judge, you think, oh God, why did I say yes to this? But when it's a team, it's fun.
Thank you. Andy has a question.
Go ahead. Done.
Andy Alas.
Thank you. One of the things that we're trying to do in Division G is, because of lack of resources, lack of judges, lack of functionaries, is combine like Area G1, G2, have it on the same day, which I think most divisions are going to have to do. We just don't have enough people. But here's the problem that we're running against. For example, let's say we have a combined Area G1, G2, we'll have them on the same day. If you're a contestant, it's theoretically possible, very likely, that you have to drive an hour and a half if you're going to compete in person to get to the physical location on Friday night for the rehearsal, drive back home an hour and a half. So that's already 3 or 4 hours you did Friday night. Saturday morning, you get up, you drive an hour and a half, compete, and then go back home. So in order to compete, you've got a 6-hour commute. We're like, what's that going to do to participation? We all know what's going to happen. So that's one of the things we try to do. And if we pick a central location in our area, would be Fresno, you're looking at least 1 hour for all the contestants to travel, especially on a Friday night. So what we're trying to do is figure out what to do. Does anybody have any suggestions? Because if you ask people to commute for 6 hours, we all know what's going to happen.
I think maybe you can offer the rehearsal online, or
No, because if you're going to compete in person, you want to feel the space and practice it and get the speaker and get the sound and make sure the computer's working.
or maybe they could show up a little bit before the actual contest day, and so have the dry run in person and then execute the speech.
We thought of that, but then we have to get everybody on board to show up for the rehearsal right before the contest, which is a possibility. It's not asking the impossible, but I mean, I'm just saying, I'm thinking out loud. These are things that are come up, and if just one person wants to compete in person, then we have to accommodate, which is fine. That's part of the game. But we just see if we combine. So we thought maybe if we don't combine, then of course you have a smaller geographical area, which is a lot more convenient. But then you don't have judges, you don't have battle encounters, you don't have all the people that you need. So that's something, for all of us to work out. But that's just my 2 cents. But we're working on it. We're trying to figure out, but we're like, so I said, let's do no curse, home team advantage. Everybody in my club only has to drive 10 minutes while the rest of you have to drive an hour and a half. Guess who's going to win? So home team advantage.
So Andy, here's a thought, if I can jump in here.
Of course.
Is rather than having a combined meeting or a contest, you have a contest for G1, but you ask people from G2 to be judges and what have you from and online. But then when you also, when G2 is going to have theirs, you ask they ask you, and so you swap people as far as like maybe a Toastmaster, your judges, your ballot counters, your contestants are a little bit of SOL, but they're going to have to either drive the hour and a half or 10 minutes or whatever it is. But yeah, maybe if you're holding it 2 contests, one local to Fresno and one local to wherever else G2 is, that maybe that smooths the road a little bit. Just a thought. I don't know if that would work or not.
I think it's a great suggestion. Thank you. The problem is getting people to volunteer on multiple days to be judges and different, but we're working on it. That's why, like Tan says, we're starting now in December for our areas in February. So we're working on it. It's just things that come up across that. I mean, if it came to our attention, it's going to come to your attention. So I'm just sharing.
Thank you very much. Brittany Brim, Area Director for Area 2.
Hi. Well, great presentation, Tam. I'm in here in Bakersfield. There's 3 areas: A1, A2, and A3. So for the area speech contest, we combined in we wanted in the past we combined the speech contest for all for areas 1, 2, and 3. So we hold the speech contest in person in the past, but we've never done the hybrid speech contest before. So I've been on the online speech contest before. And so I have a question as far as the hybrid speech contest goes. Is the Spanish Spanish contest the same as the English speech contest?
Brittany, the Spanish speaking contest, they will use the rules from the international speech, the rule books from the international speech contest. So the prerequisites are the same. But it is not the same also because that's our 3rd speech contest. So the speech could be reused in both languages, but they're not the same contest. They're 2 separate.
Okay.
Did I understand your question correctly?
Yeah. I can. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. It is it is not the same. You know.
Yeah. Well, they'll utilize the same type of qualification process and judging forms, but it'll be separate contests. And the Spanish speaking contest, just like the evaluation speech contest, it'll end at the district level, and there's no regional and no world champion of public speaking for those 2 categories.
Yeah. True that. So yeah, that's so yeah, but I have the phone number for 2 area directors, Jim and Jacqueline, and so we definitely gonna work on that. Like we're trying to find the location and everything. So that's all. So that's what we're gonna do between now and February. Thank you so much, Tam.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you for sharing, Brittany.
Welcome.
Okay. So it's a Q&A. You don't have to find out all any further questions you have. This is the perfect time to ask, or we can do a follow-up, and I'll do some more follow-up on questions after the meeting as well.
One last question from me, Pham, and thanks for the panel for being here to answer all the questions. There's no education or pathway requirement for the evaluation, is that correct?
You're correct. There's no pathway requirement for evaluation.
Okay, thank you.
Sam, have we okayed the the international style contest for Spanish speaking, has that been okayed by the powers that be?
Let me find out. The Spanish speaking contest, is that approved to be executed, or?
Yes, because there was a question in the rule book. It said it could only be held in English, and that kind of defeated the purpose of Spanish contest.
That's right. I think I know what you're referring to, Grace. We found additional material and verbiage that said if a different language is going to be conducted on a speech contest with a different language, you don't call it the international speech contest. You call it the language speech contest, and you can use yes, and there's some fine print that I can share with you that one of our
excellent. Excellent. Who is the person who located this? Because I want to give him a medal.
I think it was Michael Cryle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That answer doesn't surprise me. So then my next question is for Andy. Do we have forms that have been translated into Spanish for the international style contest, the language contest?
That short answer is yes. We do have the forms for the judges, the forms for the contestants, that the forms that they have to sign. Everything is in Spanish. However, the question comes up: are they official Toastmaster forms? And the answer is no. And here is what's interesting. As some of you may know, I belong to a club in Mexico, and we meet in Spanish. And I was very surprised when one of the area directors called me up and said, "Hey, Andy, can you help me fill out this report?" Halfway through the report, remember, there's an area director in Mexico in Spanish. Halfway through the report, I realized the area director's report was in English in Mexico. And I said, "You can go ahead and send me the Spanish one. There's no Spanish ones." I go, "You're telling me that if you don't speak English and you live in France or Germany or Japan, you cannot be an area director?" So yes, you cannot be an area director unless you speak English or read or write English at least. And I was like, what? And I said, well, then we started getting the contest, and sorry if I'm taking too much time. Then we started getting the contest. And if you're going to be a judge in a Spanish language contest in Spain, in Argentina, all the forms are in English. So that means that if you're a Spanish language contest, you have to read and write in English in order to be able to judge a contest in Spanish. These are the way Toastmasters rule. And in America, obviously, everything's in English, so we don't think about these things. And I go, that's kind of ridiculous that you're going to judge a Spanish language contest with English forms. So one of the DTM candidates in Mexico started translating the forms. And what he did, he didn't just translate it. He started giving to all the judges for like about 3 or 4 years, their battle-tested forms in Colombia, in Spain, and all that, and he translated. And it's a perfect translation. And he got his DTM doing that. The only thing that's missing is the Postmaster National Seal of Approval, because when you look at them, they are perfect translations that have been tested by hundreds of judges and hundreds of contestants. It's just not the official forms. I got those forms, and they are somewhere on the District 33 website. Clarice asked me for them last year, so I gave, and they're free. Anybody can use them. I mean, it's not like a secret, But to answer your question, the short answer is yes. We have the judges and contestant form in Spanish. The long answer, no, they are not official forms, but all Toastmasters put their stamp in that, and they're done. They are amazing translations. They're perfect.
Now they look good to me with my limited language. I just assumed they were Toastmaster International form. So kudos to your compatriot in Mexico City who did that. Fabulous.
Yeah, that was his DTM project, and he got his DTM.
Yeah, and we do have all those forms on one of our Google Doc, our judging team Google Doc.
Sam, Vivian here.
Yes.
Sam?
Vivian, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I am a strong advocate of checklist, the checklist system. I am an international speaker long before the pandemic, since 2001. And a checklist is the very first thing that we perfected before we even moved to step 2, because things happen. Even if we know it by heart, for some reason, things happen. And I hope we can do that because we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we have a contest or an event. What do you think of that? And secondly, Senor Andy Alas, I performed in Spain and Mexico, and I agree the rules should be given and cleared and approved on both sides. And I would love, if you'll invite me, to visit your club in Mexico. I've been there. Acapulco, I love it. Y la ciudad también.
Awesome, awesome. Send me your email in the chat and you will definitely get invited. We're taking a Christmas holiday the next 2 weeks, but in January, you're more than welcome and I will send you the information. And that's true of anybody. If you want to practice your Spanish, hablamos español en México.
Muchísimas gracias. Tengo mi diploma que desde Madrid, diploma de español como lengua extranjera, señor.
Muy bien, muy bien.
Besos, besos. Tu email también, puedes escribir aquí.
Por supuesto.
Thanks, everybody. And yes, so that's interesting. I love Andy already. Sorry, Tan, it's over between us. I'm now falling in love with Andy.
Lo siento. I do a little bit too. Okay. Do we have any more questions before we go all have some margaritas?
Hey,
Hey.
Tan, I have one last question.
Yes.
Is this training going to be offered again before the contest season?
Yes, I'm proud to, or anybody, we could do this training as much as possible. I wanted to do this as a road show, just educate or share the knowledge. Again, every time I give this presentation, I build upon it and add a couple of aspects that I did not think of before. So your feedback here is very important, and then we can give it again. Yes.
Let me know at least when that's going to happen, because I want to hook some of the other people in my Camarillo club into this.
Yes.
We need this training on hybrid because we've never done a hybrid contest in our district. So we need the training. We need the information. So thank you, Tan, for this.
Okay. Let's go ahead and set up another one of these. All right. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking time on a busy Thursday, especially with the holiday season. I'm looking forward to this year as your program quality director. We're going to have an awesome hybrid speech contest season. If something happens, we do have the flexibility to revert to be online, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. I see this as no different than FaceTiming my mom. You push a button, you get to talk, you get to listen, and that's essentially like a hybrid meeting between my wife, my mom, and myself. So it's essentially 2 people here, 1 person there, and we just perform as a family. So thank you. I really thank you. And I'm going to remain here online a little bit longer if you want to talk, but I'm going to end recording now.